Well, ladies, it is another Monday, and how are we doing? Can you believe that, October, I was just talking about October, not too long ago, and last week we talked about breast cancer and the most important thing about that, how to, what are the symptoms, how to be tested, and in light of the fact that it's the October to recognize Breast Cancer Month. And it seemed like just yesterday I was saying welcome to October, and guess what? We're almost out. This is the last week of October. Can you believe that? Wow. That's amazing. So time is flying. And I hope that while time is flying for everyone, I hope that we are enjoying ourselves, that we are taking life, to the fullest and enjoying every minute of it. I hope that you guys had a great weekend. I wish I can hear about it, but you can always comment and let me know how your weekend was. I hope you enjoyed it. And most importantly, I hope that you spoiled yourself. Which leads me to my next thing. You are phenomenally beautiful, ladies. You are absolutely beautiful. Again, because you can do so many great things, and women today are just so powerful. So powerful. I love seeing how women can accomplish so many goals in their lives. They can be in school, they can have their children, they can have their husbands, which is like another child, and they can also work. And, they do this without complaining. And that makes them beautiful to me. Okay. So if no one had told you today that you are beautiful, let me be the first to tell you. And I mean that from my heart. So you are listening to the Estrogen Chronicles, Her Plate, Her Power. And I am your host, functional nutritionist Gail Thorpe, and your health detective right here at your service. So what I would like for you to do now is to sit back, and I want you to relax. I want you to have a pen and paper, because I'm quite sure there's going to be some great information always shared that I try to always share. And you can have your tea, your coffee. If you want a little bit of wine, you can have that too. So right now, we're going to go ahead and get into it. So ladies, lately there's been a lot of controversy in reference to saturated fats and having saturated fats a part of your diet and eating a lot of it. But we've always been told not to eat a lot of saturated fats. And so what prompted me today is to talk a little more about heart disease, especially in women, because I want you to be the judge of that. Should I have saturated fats in my diet, or should I not? I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of saturated fats. We know that. But right now, we're being told that we should have a lot more saturated fats, right? So that can lead to heart disease. It really, really can lead to heart disease. So we're going to talk about today heart disease, especially heart disease in women. Now, we know that heart disease actually refers to a range of conditions that affect the heart. It includes coronary artery disease, which is the most common, and it's CAD, okay? And CAD happens when plaque, which is a mix of fat and cholesterol and other substances, builds up in the arteries that supply blood to the heart. Now, this buildup actually restricts our blood flow and potentially leads to heart attacks or heart failure. So in women, heart disease often develops later than in men and may present, with a sublunar symptoms, sometimes even without classic chest pain. So not all the time do we have chest pain, especially in women. Okay, so we have to be careful or look for some of the other symptoms that we're going to talk about today. So heart disease is the leading cause of death among women worldwide. I want you guys to take a moment to think about that. Okay, take a moment to think about that. But that is the leading cause of death among women worldwide. And in the U.S., it accounts for 1 in every 5 female deaths. Did you know that? Did you know that? Okay? How important this is that we get this under control. So women tend to develop symptoms about 7 to 10 years later than men, and often after menopause due to loss of estrogen's protective effects. Now, we have talked about menopause here. We talked about perimenopause and menopause. And we know that when we go into menopause, it's the lack of estrogen. But the estrogen is so important for many reasons. And we find now the estrogen actually protects our heart. So this is why a woman can tend to have heart problems later because of the lack of estrogen. And alarmingly, many women don't recognize their symptoms or are misdiagnosed. Now, that is one of the reasons, ladies, that I'm out here. Oh, I hear so much stories. I've even had personal stories. But we tend to have symptoms when it comes down to our hormonal health. We tend to have symptoms that are very similar to each other. And you've heard me say this. You've heard me say this many, many times. So when we have symptoms that are similar, we can oftentimes be misdiagnosed on a lot of things. So this is why I'm out here to kind of point out different problems that as women we have. What are the symptoms? What do we want to look for? When do we need to see the doctor? And what are some of the things that we can do naturally? But also some things we have to do conventionally, depending upon what it is. So that's why I love teaching you guys these things, because it's so important. Now we know that with heart disease, it can be misdiagnosed in women, right? So here you are going along and you're thinking you're fine and you're not. Okay? So some of the causes and risk factors of having heart disease. So high blood pressure and cholesterol is definitely one. Smoking, diabetes and insulin resistance, obesity, especially abdominal fat. So a lot of times as women, we talked about that as well. Hormonally, we can have definitely fat around our abdomen. A lot of times it's hormonal, okay? And live in a sedentary lifestyle, chronic stress, and poor diet. One that's high in processed and saturated fats. Now, we just mentioned that the controversy right now about saturated fats. I think as women, we need to be careful about that. Okay? Having too much saturated fat, and I will talk a little bit more about that in a moment, but having too much saturated fat is not good for us. It's not good for men either, but right now we're focusing on women and our health, right? So hormonal changes after menopause, I just mentioned that, can lead to heart problems because of the lack of estrogen, and then family history or genetics. Okay? These are the things that can lead, because sometimes, depending upon, there are specialized testings that a person can do in reference to heart disease that sometimes doctors really may not even cover, especially when it comes down to genetics. So we want to find out about our genetics. We want to find out about, what did our grandmother have? What did our parents have? What did our great-grandmother have? We want to find these different things out because a lot of times it's tied into our health. But there are specialized genetic testing to see if you are predisposed based upon your genetics. Are you predisposed to having heart problems later on? So these are so many things that we need to take a look at and be tested for. Okay? Now, some of the common symptoms with women. So with women, symptoms can be very subtle and sometimes dismissed as stress or indigestion. Like I just mentioned to you, that a lot of times it's misdiagnosed because, again, because we are so hormonal and having our hormones going up and down all the time, we are a lot of times misdiagnosed with a lot of different things. And you've heard me mention that many, many times, because a lot of the symptoms that I have previously talked about in previous episodes, they tend to line up together, right? So that's why it's really good to pay attention to our bodies and understand, to look for certain things. So if we have shortness of breath, if we have fatigue, especially with exertion, right? Because even if you're in good health and you're not having any kind of heart problems, even if you exert yourself, you shouldn't be led to complete fatigue. Okay? So nausea or vomiting for just no reason. We need to take a look at that. All right? So pain in the neck, the jaw, the shoulder, the upper back, or abdomen. So if you're having pain in these areas, we need to take a look at that. Okay? You need to definitely say, okay, if it's prolonged pain that's happening for absolutely no reason, right? We want to see what's going on. Chest pressure or tightness, not always severe, and lightheadedness, or just simply being dizzy. These are symptoms that we want to take a look at and pay attention to, ladies. So I hope that you wrote this down, because it's so important. Now, if you experience unexplained fatigue, chest discomfort, or breathlessness, it is wise to seek medical advice right away. Now, if your symptoms are severe or sudden, please make sure you call emergency services immediately. Do not drive yourself. Okay? Do not drive yourself. Now, when we go to the doctor, the testings that he will perform to see what's going on, of course, he's going to do blood tests to see, your cholesterol, your triglycerides, your blood sugar, and your CRP, okay, which is inflammation, okay? He's going to also do an electrocardiogram, which is an ECG, to measure your heart rhythms. He will also do an echocardiogram, which is an ultrasound of your heart. He will do a stress test to measure your heart function during exercise. And then he will also do a coronary angiography or a CT scan to visualize your blocked arteries. So these are the testings that you will have done if you have any one of those symptoms. Okay? So as you know, I like to tell you what to expect when you go to a doctor. Now, some of the treatments that he's going to recommend, depending upon the severity, may include, of course, medications, right? So like beta blockers, statins, ACE inhibitors, or even aspirin. Okay? And then, depending upon the symptoms, there may be a procedure, angioplasty, or bypass surgery. And then, of course, lifestyle therapy, which happens to be the most powerful long-term approach. And that's, of course, where I come in, because that's what I talk about here. Okay? So there are some helpful supplements. Now, again, once again, when you are dealing with heart, and if you happen to have to take medications, and I'm not a huge fan of medications. My goal is working with my clients so that they can eventually get off of medication, not because I told them to, but because their doctors told them to, right? Because long-term taking of medications can cause side effects, right? So you're taking care of one area possibly, and then something else comes up, right? So really, the most powerful prevention or even maintenance is lifestyle intervention. Okay? But there are supplements that we can take that can help with this as far as prevention. And if you're already going through the process, it can also help you to get healthier, right? But again, if you're taking medications, you always want to seek your doctor's opinion, advice, whatever you want to call it, or recommendation if you can. Because again, any type of supplement sometimes can hinder the effects of the medication. Because heart disease is so important, if you're taking medications to help your heart, you don't want anything to inhibit it, right? So you want to make sure and get the okay to do so. Or it can make the medicine that you're taking work even 10 times faster in the body, which is not good either, because we have to go at a pace, right? So this is why I say, to be responsible, we want to make sure that we always check with our medical professional to see if that's okay. All right? Now, if they give you the okay, we want to go ahead and do omega-3 fatty acids, fish oil. This helps to actually lower our triglycerides, and it reduces inflammation in our body. We want to do CQ10, which helps supports heart muscle energy, and it also may help with statin side effects if you're taking a statin. And then magnesium, which helps to regulate our heart rhythm and our blood pressure. Okay? And then vitamin D. This is linked to lower cardiovascular risk. And garlic extract, which helps to reduce our blood pressure and our cholesterol. And then L-carnitine, which may improve heart function in some people. So that's why everything just depends on the person. It depends on their symptoms. It depends on the medications that they're taking to determine what's going to work. Okay? But I always like to give you options, especially natural options, because a lot of times natural options definitely work. And like I said, your lifestyle modification is the most powerful. And this is part of it. So when we talk about lifestyle, that's the cornerstone of prevention and management. So we want to make sure that we want to eat a plant-forward, anti-inflammatory diet. We want to exercise regularly, at least 150 minutes per week, which actually turns out to be 30 minutes per day. You do not have to spend 20 hours in a gym. Okay? You don't have to. 30 minutes a day of exercise, whatever that may be, whether it be swimming, whether it be walking, whether it be possibly yoga, whatever it is good enough to help you as far as the circulatory, getting the circulation throughout your body and helping to bring down inflammation. You want to maintain a healthy weight. You want to sleep at least 7 to 9 hours a day. Okay? We want to get our sleep, guys. I have a lot of clients sometimes that come to me and say, I cannot sleep A lot of times we can't sleep because of the stress that we're dealing with, which is why we need to bring that down, right? Because our body repairs itself while we are sleeping. It literally does. But when we're not sleeping, we're keeping our body in a very unrelaxed state. Our hormones are going crazy. Our cholesterol, not our cholesterol, but our cortisols, I meant to say, which is our stress hormones, is up and down. Everything is going crazy in our body. It's not relaxed. So in getting the proper sleep is extremely important, ladies. Extremely. So 7 to 10 hours or 7 to 9 hours is perfect. And we don't want to smoke, and we want to limit alcohol. Now for me, I'm so thankful I am not a smoker. I am not a smoker. Smoking is really bad for our health. It's not good for our health. So we want to make sure if we smoke, we want to try to get off the cigarettes. Okay? And limit our alcohol. You've heard me talk about the alcohol before. With women, too much alcohol is just not good. It does so much to our health that it's just not, it makes no sense to have a lot of alcohol. Okay? And just give me one moment, ladies. I'll be right back. Okay, ladies, I'm back. I had to take a call. Okay. So the role of stress. So chronic stress increases our cortisol, I just mentioned. It raises our blood pressure. It triggers inflammation. And over time, it weakens the heart. Okay? This is why I'm always preaching about stress. People often don't recognize how much when they say stress can kill you. It can. It can. And I just mentioned just the reason why. Okay? So we want to be mindfulness. We want to be doing mindful exercises. We want to do yoga. We want to do breath work. We want to take nature walks. We want to dance like no one's watching. We want to journal. Okay? These are what can calm the nervous system and lower your risk. Okay? I love dancing. I think you guys know that because I've mentioned that several times. But dancing it feels great. It's a great form of exercise. It gives you some rhythm going on. But I'm not saying you have to dance. That's just one option. But like I mentioned, you want to, take those nature walks. You want to journal to get out some of the things that's on your mind in case you can't talk to anyone else. Journaling is excellent. But what you don't want to do is have too much stress because it starts to, over time, literally weaken your heart. Okay? So, saturated fats. I just want to kind of dig a little more into that. Saturated fats is found in butter and fatty meats and cheese and etc. And what it actually does, it raises our LDL cholesterol, which is the bad cholesterol. And this can actually contribute to plaque buildup in arteries. Now, keep in mind, though, not all saturated fats are equal. So within moderation and balance is the most important thing. We need to replace saturated fats with unsaturated fats like olive oil, avocados, and nuts, which also support strongly heart health. So when we talk now about the controversy of eating more saturated fats, it can lead to plaque buildup, which is what can lead to heart attacks and strokes. And as women, like I said, men too, but we're talking about women right now, we don't need that. Because we are stressed out a lot of times. I mean, between, maintaining our children, maintaining our household, we're working, we're in school, we maybe have stress in our relationships. Maybe we're having stress within our bodies, meaning that we have issues with our bodies. We may have anxiety issues. We tend to process stress differently. And this is why heart disease is number one for women's health, because we keep a lot of things inside, right? We keep a lot of things inside. We may not talk to people about it, even if it's our husbands, possibly our boyfriends. And the longer that we're under this kind of stress, the longer it takes for it to eventually cause problems with our heart. Now, if we're eating a lot of saturated fats on top of that, do you think that your heart will be good? Do you think that that is a good choice for you? No, it's not. If it's going to build up plaque and raise our cholesterol levels, you be the choice on that one. Okay? You figure out within yourself if that's going to be a good choice. And I hope that you understand that it will not be. Anything that is going to cause plaque buildup, high cholesterol levels, which can in turn cause you to have a stroke or a heart attack, is not good. Now, I'm not saying that sometimes you can't have something that has some saturated fat in it, because again, everything is within moderation. But I will say to you that you don't want to have it too often. Okay? Because it can, and it will, cause problems. Okay? And I'm serious about that because it's really important. So, how can we take back our plate? As you know, that's what we do here. We take back our plate, because what does that mean? That means is that whatever we're going through, there's always nutrition that can help us for either prevention or possibly eradicating the problem or maintaining a healthy body as we're dealing with the problem. So what we want to do is look to more oily fish like salmon and sardines. We want to do more of the leafy greens. We want to do more berries and nuts and seeds. We want to do more olive oil and avocados, as I just mentioned to you. Legumes and whole grains. We want to do more of the garlic, the turmeric, and the ginger. Okay? Which is all helpful there in anti-inflammatory. We have to bring down the inflammation in our bodies. And we want to avoid processed meats and refined carbs. We want to avoid sugary foods and drinks, trans fats, and deep fried foods, and excess salt and alcohol. Again, everything in moderation. So I'm not saying that sometimes if you have a taste for a little potato chips or maybe a cheeseburger, I'm not saying to never ever have it again. But we definitely want to go the 20-80 rule. 80% healthy and 20%, I don't want to say unhealthy, but cheat days. Okay, ladies, I am back. My microphone actually went down on me, so I'm hoping that I can catch up on what I just said. So basically, as I mentioned to you, the foods that you need to avoid, we need to avoid processed meats and refined carbs, sugary foods and drinks, trans fats and deep fried foods, and excess salt and alcohol. Okay, those are things that we need to avoid. And what I was basically saying before my mic had totally died on me, she's telling me you're talking too much, be quiet, is that it does not mean that you can't never ever have, that cheeseburger sometimes, or possibly some potato chips sometimes. I don't believe in that you never should have anything, because sometimes your body does crave it. But you want to do the 80-20 rule. You want to do 80% healthy and 20% possibly unhealthy. But I don't even want to say unhealthy, just more so you're cheating a little bit sometimes, right? Because this is really about a lifestyle change. It's not something that is just, one moment. You want to make this as a lifestyle change. Okay? Exercising. Now, recommended exercising to help us, as I mentioned, 150 minutes per week, which turns out to be 30 minutes per day. You want to do brisk walking, or like I mentioned, dancing, which is great for circulation. You want to do cycling or swimming, which helps to support your endurance. Then you want to do yoga and Pilates, which helps to reduce stress and it strengthens the core. You want to also do some strength training, which improves metabolism and heart efficiency. Okay? So those are some of the great suggestions when it comes down to, you may ask yourself, what is the best exercise? Because we don't want to live a sedentary lifestyle, because it definitely, as you're eating, first of all, it helps you to gain weight. You're eating and you're sitting. It's not going anywhere. Then you start to build up, if you're eating very unhealthy, you start to build up a lot of inflammation in your body. And then if your circulation is off, eventually it starts to help, the blood is not circulating. It helps for you to end up sick with your heart, right? So we want to get that oxygen. We want to get ourselves moving every single day in some type of way. Take your time in the beginning. It always takes time to start anything, right? So take your time in the beginning and then work up to a great workout for yourself. Okay? Now that you know, ladies, that heart disease is the number one for us, take this serious. Now that you know also that heart disease is misdiagnosed in us, right? Take this serious, guys. Take this serious. I can't be no more serious than I am when it comes down to this. Okay, now, you know what's about to come next, and that is a gift. Our gifts that I give out every week. And this is our heart-loving juice that we're going to have. Now, this juice is going to be important. This is going to help with prevention. This is going to help to maintain a healthier heart. Okay, it's going to include some of the foods that we just talked about that we need to include in our diet. Okay? Not even our diet. I say our nutrition, because that's what I'm about. So, we want to do 1 medium beet, which is raw or roasted. We want to do a cup of blueberries. We want to do 1 small apple. Doesn't matter which one. We want to do 1-inch ginger root. We also want to do a half lemon that is peeled. And we want to do 1 cup of water or coconut water. Now, you know what I'm going to say next. Everything should be 100% organic. Okay? Now, why does this help us? First of all, the beets actually helps to boost nutrient oxide, which improves our blood flow and lowering blood pressure. The blueberries, of course, are rich in antioxidants that protect our arteries. And the ginger and the lemon reduce inflammation. Apple adds fiber and sweetness without spiking your blood sugar. So we want to go ahead and blend and enjoy, right? And you want to drink this on an empty stomach. So first thing in the morning would be a great time. So this way it can really, really saturate your body on an empty stomach, get those cells working, right? Feeding those cells in the environment in which they are living. Okay? This is what you want to call your tonic for your health and your soul. Okay, ladies. So we talked today, even with my little interruption of my mic, we talked today about heart disease. How important it is for us to really, really watch our bodies, right? Some of the symptoms that we can have, okay? We know that heart disease is number one in women. Number one. And that's because of many things I mentioned, from stress, definitely from stress, or the way we eat, just our overall lifestyle, lack of exercise, high inflammation. All of these things contribute to us having heart problems, which can turn into heart disease. It can turn into having a stroke or a heart attack. So we do have to take this very, very serious. And if you are not sure, ladies, on, again, what should you eat, you may be not as creative on what to fix yourself. That's what I'm here for. I'm a functional nutritionist, and clients hire me to give them a customized program. The program will consist of, based upon results of my testing, I have over 200 different panels when it comes down to genetics, heart, just everything I cover. To find out what's really, as I mentioned, I'm the health detective. Yeah, I dig deeper to find out what is the root cause of what's causing the problem. Is it stress? I dig into that too. But I can test for a lot of really good things, guys. And based upon your testing, then we discover what's really happening with you. So I put you on a customized program, customized food just for you, customized supplements just for you. And I have supplements, guys, that are practitioner-based supplements. So you won't see them in the stores, right? So all of these things I can offer to you. Since this is such an important topic, you may need some assistance, and I am here to help. So please go to www.nutritionudesign.com and book a session with me. I cannot wait to hear from you. I cannot wait to work with you if you decide that that's the route that you want to go. But always remember that your health is your wealth. And, as my mom used to say, don't put a price tag on your health, ladies. Don't do it. Because if you love your life, you love your family, and if there's a way that you can stay here a little bit longer by just making changes, don't you think that's worth it? I would think so. So definitely go to my website, reach out to me. I would love to talk with you. And we can book a session and we can take it from there. Ladies, I hope that you are enjoying this podcast, and I hope that you are sharing the podcast, because I definitely try my best to talk about subjects that sometimes we don't either know much about or have never heard of or need more information. That's what I'm here for, to teach you those things. And I'm hoping that you're sharing to teach so others can be taught as well. So please share. Be sure to also subscribe so you know when I have a new episode coming, right? We've been going at this now for a little time, and I'm enjoying it so much, and I hope that you are as well enjoying the different topics about our health on many, many levels, okay? So share it with others so they can get that juicy information as well. And as you know, I always say, wellness is not just a focus, but it is a lifestyle. And I think that you understand where I'm going with that. Again, it's not about totally not having a piece of cake or maybe some french fries. It's not about that. It's about lifestyle nutrition. And it's about learning how to balance having some good things and some bad things sometimes, but not enough to harm you. Okay? Not enough to harm you, but creating that balance that's needed so that you can enjoy your life. Sometimes when we're on vacation, we tend to have a little extra stuff, and that's okay. But it's when we have it every single day that's when we're creating a big problem for ourselves. So it's about lifestyle nutrition. It's about a lifestyle of eating healthier, eating clean, exercising, taking nature walks. It's a lifestyle, guys. Always. Okay, ladies. Well, I think we've come to the end of the rainbow. I like to have fun with you ladies. But I hope that, again, you enjoyed this topic, which is such a serious topic, but one I wanted to get out there because there is controversy right now as we speak about saturated fats. And I want you, after hearing what I said today about that, determine if that's a good route for you. I would hope that you realize it's not a good route for you, especially being that heart disease is number one for women. Okay? So take care of yourselves, ladies. And remember, always, like I mentioned, your health is your wealth. Don't put a price tag on your health. And enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week. And until next time, I will talk to you soon.